Now that the boring stuff is out of the way, let's dive in and start modeling in Blender. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Blender. And you might be saying, well, how are we going to get the images into Blender? Okay, and this is actually super easy. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, like this, and I have my images here. Okay, I'm only going to bring in two to start with. I'm going to bring in the front and the left. Okay, now your Blender scene probably looks like this at the start. And if it's not, you can go to File, New, and then just go to General. Okay, I'm just going to grab over all this stuff and hit my Delete key. Okay, and now I've got a clean scene. So over here, you can see that if I hold the middle mouse button, it'll kind of rotate like this. If I hold Shift and middle mouse, it does like this, and Control and middle mouse, it'll do like this. Okay, so that's kind of how I navigate around. I can also navigate with this widget up here. So if I click on the X, I'm looking at it directly on the side. If I go to Z, I'm looking at it from the top. And if I'm in one of these views and I just kind of middle mouse, I get out of that. So what I want to do is I want to be directly on the side. So I'm going to click on this X right here. And then I can just simply drag and drop. Okay, great. Now there it is. And I can always change the scale of it if I want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. And then I'm going to go to the Y, or I'm actually going to go to this one, -Y, and I'm going to drag this one on here as well. Okay, well, let's see. There we go. And now I can make this big screen, and now I can move this around. So if I press, I can select this. So, okay, so if I select this, I can go to my Move, and I want to select this one, and I can see that I can go ahead and kind of move it. And I want to move this down like this. So I just went to this Move arrow, and now I can just kind of middle mouse wheel and hold down Shift, kind of bring this full screen. And I'm just trying to get this aligned center. Okay. Now over in the upper right hand corner, I can see these icons up here. I'm going to click on this one. And that's going to be wireframe. Actually, in this case, it's not going to change this to be wireframe. And that's okay. And actually, we don't want it to be wireframe because I feel like we want to see this at all time. But what I'm looking at is I'm trying to get this wheel to be in the center. Now notice the light is actually off center. So don't let the light kind of fool you. And even if this isn't perfect, that's okay. And you can kind of see what we have here, right? And it looks like the wrong image came on the side. Well, that's not a problem. I can just select it and hit the Delete key. And I'm going to go ahead and drag in the side view. So I don't want to drag in the side view like this. I want to make sure that I'm looking directly at the side view. Otherwise, it's going to come in orientated wrong. So now that I have that in, now I can kind of bring this up, bring this down. And if I look at it from the side, yeah, that looks good. Now it doesn't really matter where this is forward and back. I just kind of want to keep it roughly centered. Okay, it's more important on this one that this one's actually centered the best that we can kind of get it. Okay, actually that's looking pretty good. So now I want to make sure that they're aligned to one another. Okay, to do that, I'm first going to kind of take this one and push this directly back. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to push this one directly back. There we go. Now I've got kind of some breathing room in between here. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a cube, and that's going to help with my alignment. So to do that, I'm going to do Shift A. That's going to bring up the Add menu. Then I can go to Mesh, Cube. Okay. Now, if I go click on here, I can see that I'm back to the front view, and I could lift this up. And now this is kind of what I was talking about before. I cannot see through this object, so I have to go up here to wireframe mode. So if I click on that, now I can see I'm in wireframe mode. Okay. Now, if I want to manipulate this shape, I have to press Tab to enter what's called edit mode. Okay. Another way that I could get there is over here. I can go to edit or object mode and edit mode. Okay. Object mode means that I'm selecting the entire shape and I can move it and I can do those type of things. And edit mode means what it sounds like, where I would edit the shape. So the fast way to get into that is pressing Tab. Now I'm in edit mode. Now I can see that in edit mode, I can choose what's called vertex, edge, or face. So if I choose vertex, that means I could grab a single point. If I grab an edge, that would be grabbing an edge. And then if I grabbed face, then I can grab a whole face. Okay, I want to be in vertex mode, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to maybe take this, and now I'll go down here to scale. So here's my move, rotate, and scale. And I'm just going to kind of scale this out like that. Actually, I think I'm going to go like this. I'm going to take this whole thing, and I'm going to scale it a little bit wider. Okay. Now I'm going to take my move. Once again, I'm in vertex mode. I'm going to drag over these, and I'm going to move this up. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to create what's called a bounding box around this, okay, as tight as I possibly can. So in other words, right at the exact bottom, right at the exact top, and right at the exact side. Now if I check this from my other angle, so if I click on X, I know that that's the top of the motorcycle and this is the bottom of the motorcycle. So if I did this, if I brought this and brought it down and said, okay, that's the side of the motorcycle, this is the front of the motorcycle, and this is the back of the motorcycle, and then if I grab this and bring it up, you might be saying, okay, great. Hey, I'm ready to go. But then again, if I check it, whoop, now it's wrong here. So you're going to be doing that all day long. You're going to be kind of fighting back and forth there. So instead of trying to fight that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this plane. Now, notice that I'm in edit mode. So what I need to do is hit tab to get into object mode. Now I should be able to select this plane, and now I can go to scale, and then I can just click and drag, and now I'm scaling the image to now fit the cube. So I'm going to kind of go like that, then maybe move it up a little bit. Okay, there we go. And if I need to make it thinner, I can select the cube. It's important that I select the cube first, or this square around it. I'm going to press tab to enter edit mode, and now I can grab this and I could scale thinner like that. And there I can kind of start to see that, okay, that is actually directly centered because I did not move this cube back and forth. And if I want to put a split down the cube, okay, I'm going to middle mouse drag and I can start to see here's my cube. If I look at it from the side, aha, it's still aligned there. And if I look at it from the front, it's still aligned there. So I feel like we're doing a pretty good job here. So I think what I want to do is I want to put a split down the exact center. Okay, now to do that, if I go up here, once again, I'm in edit mode. And it's important that I make sure that I go into object mode, that I select this cube if I'm going to alter the cube, as opposed to having these selected. I want to make sure that this cube is selected. Then I can press tab and enter edit mode. And if I go to edge, I can see there's something called loop, cut, and slide. And I can see the shortcut is Control R, and that's something that we're going to be using quite a bit. So if I click on that, and if I click on an edge, okay, well, let's see. So edge, loop, cut, and slide. Right away, you can see that when I hover over this edge, it shows like that. And if I hover over this edge, it shows like that. Or if I hover over that edge, it shows like that. So I want to hover over this edge and then click with the left mouse click and then left click again. And now it should be there. Okay, it's just done. It's in there. And now if I look at it from the front, okay, now I have a better idea of where my center line is. So I think what I'm going to do is hit tab to get back into object mode. I'm going to go ahead and select this plane, and I'm going to go ahead and move it over a little bit, okay, to kind of align it down that center. Ah, there we go. I feel like the wheel is now at the center. I don't really care about the light because I know that that's not centered. And maybe your object isn't perfectly symmetrical. I mean, that's okay. Maybe you're doing like a plane or something like that, an airplane, where the top view might be more important. In that case, you would go here to Z and then look at it straight down and then put your model there. But I think on a motorcycle, I would say the side view is one of the most important views. Okay. Now, I also want you to realize that we are not really modeling yet. We're just aligning the image planes. So Now what I want to do is if I look at it from the side, whoop, okay, I'm going to click here and look at it from the side. And now I'm going to use that shortcut. So once again, notice that oh shoot, I don't see the shortcut on edge mode. That's because I need to make sure that I'm in edit mode. So I'm going to hit tab. I want to make sure that I select this. Now hit tab and now I'm in edit mode. And here's my edge. I can see that my loop, cut, and slide is Control R. So now I'm going to try that. Control R and click. Now, if I hold the left mouse button, you can see that I can move that up and down and before I kind of commit to it. And let's say if I put it right at the top of, or I'll put it right at the bottom of the handlebars. Okay. Let's see, right there. Now I'm going to check that from the other view. So if I look here and I can kind of zoom in, I can say that looks pretty close. I can see it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Okay. Now let me try another one. Control R, click, and left mouse drag, and you can see I can move this up and down. And maybe I'll put this one right on top of the basket. Okay. Now left mouse click to commit, and then I'll go up here and I'll look at that. Yeah, that's pretty close to the top of the basket. And I could also do splits vertically here. So Control R, click, left mouse click, and drag. And maybe this one I want to do at the end of the handlebar right there. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, no, I won't be able to see this one from the other angle. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not really able to see that. So I would have to just, you know, kind of put in those horizontal splits. And the idea is I want to make sure that they match pretty close. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but they should be pretty close. If it's way off, it's going to be super obvious. Okay, and that's it. So now if I middle mouse drag, I can actually go back to, I can hit tab to go back into object mode, and then I can delete this object here. We no longer need it. And I want to make sure that I do not move my image planes. Okay, that's what I have here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to, you can see that I'm in object mode. I'm going to drag select over both of them to select them, and I can see that they're selected here. I'm going to move them, or I'm going to create a new collection. So if I go up here, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to name this image planes. Okay, and then I'm going to name this one. So this is my side. Whoop, not side. Okay, and the other one obviously is my front. Now, if I want to move those to image plane, I'm going to go ahead and select both of them. And then in the viewport, I'm just going to put my mouse in the viewport and press M for move. And then I'm going to choose image planes. And now you can see it moved it to the image plane folder. Okay, that's good to keep it organized, but I also don't want to be able to select these and move them because I know they're in place. So I can go up to this filter here, and I'm going to click on this arrow. And if I click on the arrow, now the arrow is a selection here. Okay, before it was not. Notice there's no arrow here. So if I go to this arrow, now I can turn off the arrow, and I can turn it off here. That means that nobody's allowed to select this and move it. If I wanted to be able to move it, I would have to turn on the arrow. This one does it for everything in the collection, and this one's kind of individual for each one. I'm just going to turn off all of them. I also don't want it to ever be able to render, right? So later we'll talk about rendering and lighting and things like that, and we don't ever want this to show that we use this. So I'm going to turn off this. I never want it to be renderable. And you can see here, if I do this one, it'll turn off the visibility. And this one's doing it to the entire collection. So there we've got a great start. In the next video, we'll go ahead and start modeling.